Well, hey, what's up? And welcome back to the Y'all Heard podcast. I am your host, Ella Burke. And today, I know you guys were expecting an episode release where I have a guest. We did, in fact, film said episode, but in the process of uploading and transmitting the audio to video, audio totally botched, literally unusable. You could hardly even hear the great conversation that was being had. And so, really bummed about that, but it's kind of a part of the learning curve and growing pains, especially since this is something that's still super new to me. And so, yeah, we think that we have identified the problem and we shouldn't have a problem going forward. But I am going to have to refilm that episode with our guest. And thank God I have a decent working relationship with said person, because otherwise this would be super mother effing embarrassing for me. But yes, he's out of the country now. So we're going to have to put a little postpone on filming that, but I will have a different guest on this next week, and then we will publish the episode with the guests that we had already videoed with the week after. So, yeah, maybe we'll have more things to talk about with the out of the country adventures and some also major life events that have happened to this person within the past 24 hours. So super exciting. But yeah, so I'm going to do another solo episode today. Funnily enough, this was an episode that I had already filmed and recorded once. But again, audio botched. We thought we had figured it out the first time and we didn't. So we're just rolling with it now and we'll have a handle on it going forward. But today, let's get down to it. I wanted to talk about the art and the importance of unlearning. I think obviously knowledge is power and learning is super important. That's always been a really big passion and just passion of mine and something that I just really value. My mom has always taught me that people can strip and take a million things away from you, but knowledge and information isn't one of them. Isn't or aren't? Grammar, please. Whatever. But it's just as important to unlearn things that we may have picked up along the way, just in our life experiences where they may not be as beneficial. So like that could be certain habits or learned behaviors from the environment you grow up in. It could be certain concepts that we get from society, stereotypes, whatever, hate, a lot of different things that you can unlearn. And I think it's just as important to unlearn certain things as it is to learn certain things. And so today we're just going to talk about it. I'm going to go over things that I'm currently unlearning. And so we'll start with number one. I am currently unlearning that I need a take on everything. And I know people that are watching this that know me really well are probably laughing on me preaching that people don't always need an opinion on everything, because I am one of the people that does have an opinion on everything typically. But as I'm growing older and hopefully a little more wiser, I'm not necessarily sure that I can say that yet, but we're working our way up to it. It's okay to just observe and sit back sometimes, and you don't necessarily have to take a side or have a take on everything. I know there are a lot of issues now in this day and age that are super polarizing. Now let me be clear. I do think you don't necessarily have to have a take, but there are things that you may not have a take on yet that you should get educated about and form an opinion on. Things that deal with the betterment of other people and the welfare of other people. I think that's super important, and it's always been super important to me. But nice little sidetrack. But yeah, there's a lot of gray area, and I think a lot of people feel pressure to have an opinion on everything when they don't necessarily need to. I think life is better sometimes when you just sit back and let things play out the way that they happen, and you don't necessarily have to have an opinion on it. Sometimes silence is smarter than spinning it, and that's okay. But yeah, politics, pop culture, drama, situations that are personal to us that happen in everyday life. There have been plenty of instances, especially like within my family, where like people might be beefing and I can have opinions, but sometimes it's better for me to just not think about them and rather just kind of go with the flow, if you will. But I've just started asking myself, am I sharing this because I care, or am I sharing it because I feel like I should say something? I feel like a lot of times I take up space by speaking, and sometimes while I am good at speaking is also something that's a defense mechanism for me in times where things are really awkward or I feel like I'm forced to go to one side or another. And no, sometimes I don't have to talk. I should just be able to sit back and not necessarily have a take if I don't truly know what I'm talking about. So, yeah. Number 2, unlearning that being low maintenance makes me easier to love. This one's really something that it's been a long time unlearning it, really. But I don't know. I would say that there have been a lot of times in my life where I've been told that I'm too much or I'm a lot. And I'm trying to kind of adopt the mantra of if I'm too much, then go find less. I think I am a big personality and I have a lot of qualities and characteristics about myself that may be like controversial or polarizing or just like uncomfortable for some people. One of them being me being opinionated. But no, I think that life is too short and time is too fleeting to not let people embrace who they really are. And I think we've adopted this mindset collectively, like groupthink, that being low maintenance makes you more lovable or worthy of love. And I don't think that's true. I think that when you're suppressing like certain parts of yourself or parts of yourself that actually contribute to your awesomeness, you're just hindering the process of finding people that are actually meant for you and people that are bound to love you. That's like one of my favorite quotes is, you haven't even met half of the people that are going to love you yet. And I think that's really special. And obviously that doesn't necessarily mean a relationship way, like romantic way, but friends, what have you. But yeah, I think that shrinking your needs isn't sustainable, nor is it healthy. And I also think that you should be able to ask for reciprocated clarity, energy, and support without having to apologize about it. I love saying clear is kind and kind is clear. And I just think that we should probably stop forcing people into a mold in which they don't fit or go beyond and just let them be who they are. And also, if you don't love them, then don't stick around for it. So, yeah, that's my take on that one. Number 3, unlearning that discomfort is equivalent to danger. This one I love, and I learned it a lot in college, I would say. Actually, through my scholarship program, there was like a specific lesson in which we talked about zoning. And zoning in this context, essentially, you have a green zone, a yellow zone, and a red zone. And shout out Josh Taylor. We will be having him on. It literally has taught me so much of what I know. But everybody has these zones and different tasks or things, topics fall into these zones. So for instance, a green zone for me that may be like a red zone for someone else is public speaking. I love public speaking. I do fine at it. I think I could do better. Everybody can always improve at things, but no, I love public speaking. I'm good at it. I love engaging with a large group of people, but for a lot of people, that is a red zone. A yellow zone for me, I would say, talking about politics, not necessarily like standing on business on the things that I value and think are correct, but having conversations with somebody that has a super far opposing view from me, that's a yellow zone for me that it used to be a red zone, but I turned it into a yellow zone, and that's a part of the whole concept. So things that are in your red zone, that could be skydiving. It could be talking about serious topics or just having hard conversations, public speaking. I'm trying to think of other things that could be red zones for people. I mean, like shit as silly as scary movies, things like that. it basically encompasses the concept of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So the goal is that you take your red zones and you turn them into yellow zones. And then hopefully at some point they become green zones. But that is where yellow zones are where the most growth happens, as Josh said. And so, yeah, I think that it's when people get in their red zone, people are like, oh my gosh, like freaking out, and also can equate discomfort to danger when that's not necessarily the case. And you should be looking at your red zone as an opportunity for growth to turn said red zone into a yellow zone. And yeah, just get comfortable being uncomfortable. Discomfort can mean growth, not doom. Just because it feels unfamiliar or awkward doesn't mean that it's wrong. And your body can be anxious and you can still recognize and believe that you're safe. This is especially relevant when you're trying something new. For instance, this for me, being in front of a camera and talking out my ass a lot of the time is uncomfortable for me. It's really uncomfortable, and especially pushing it out for people to be able to watch and listen. Like, ugh. I know that what other people think of me is like none of my business, but sometimes I do think it's my business, and I'm working on that. But just the fact that I'm pushing something out there that's shareable and that people can talk shit about, like, that's scary to me. It always has been. And it's not necessarily, I just hate being disliked, especially for no reason, for no valid reason. And I like to know when I'm being disliked for a certain reason. I like that to be communicated to me, if you will. But sometimes I'm uncomfortable just because I'm doing something new, but not because I need to abort mission. And yeah, that is number 3 for me. Number 4, this is another good one that kind of segues from the second one we talked about, unlearning that achievement equals worthiness. I have always been really bad about finding my identity in the things that I achieve, whether that be my name on a plaque, a gold medal, all A's, whatever. I have just always felt that I've set the standard that I expect greatness for myself 100% of the time. And I don't think that's realistic. Productivity doesn't necessarily equal value. Just because you have an off day doesn't mean that you're literally set up for everything but success. Like you're not set for failure on that. And you're not more lovable when you're crushing goals. I think there are a lot of qualities about myself and about you guys too that are super lovable, and they don't require you achieving something. You just kind of are the way that you are, and you're yourself, and that's enough. And not in a chuggy way like Hobby Lobby freaking sign that you put in your bathroom and stare out while you're taking a dump, but I'm like just keeping it a buck. And this is something that I'm unlearning that achievement equals worthiness, but I'm learning it as well. But yeah, identity detangling, who you are or who are you when you're not achieving something. I think that that's super important to ask yourself and kind of separate, potential is always good. It's always great to chase goals, but also just learning to be happy and content with what you have. But it's good to push for more, but also not holding yourself to an unrealistic standard that you constantly are feeling like you're chasing it, but you're never going to feel 100%, happy with it. So yeah, it's wild how fast I go from yay, I did something, to okay, what's next? And I think it's important that you take time to appreciate the things that you do achieve without making them your whole personality. And that's huge for the program. Not everything has to be a resume builder. And a lot of times I'm literally speaking into this camera. I watch it back and I'm speaking to myself, it's really good. Really good for internal dialogue, if you will. I'm also unlearning that I can be disliked, but also be impactful. I think the best example of this is in certain situations when you're growing up and your parents are like, insistent upon something or teaching you something, and you think that they're so far wrong, but then it takes you a few years to look back in retrospect and be like, okay, they were actually really right in that moment. I'm glad they pushed me in this certain direction or did what they did, because it actually set me up for better success, or I actually learned something for it or from it. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of times that I've found that I am most impactful when people like me, but also as I'm getting older, and again, kind of more wiser-ish, as I'm getting older and a little more wiser, I am learning that what I'm saying can be received negatively, but it can be turned positively at some point in a person's future, whoever's receiving it. And I think that's really important. Yeah, I think you can say something true and still piss someone off. I think that's pretty obvious. I truly believe that the best way that you can love someone is by having hard conversations. And that's a way that I've felt really loved. I used to be able to not take criticism like worth shit, but now that I've gotten older and I have like a really good circle of people that can hold me accountable and have conversations with me about certain behaviors that they've noticed that maybe like not be that aren't that great, or just being clear on, you know, and me being open to advice as well with big life decisions and such. But yeah, I think this especially hits in things like this. I feel like for instance, I don't like Joe Rogan. I don't. But there are several different things, like from listening to certain parts of his podcast, that I've really appreciated and have pushed me in like a growing direction. And I know that probably some of these people watching this are going to be like, what the hell did he exactly say? I can pull up some examples, but I don't like the guy, and I don't really agree with the guy a lot of the time. But again, there are things that he says that are still well received on my end, and I don't necessarily like him. And yeah, I think that's cool to recognize. And I think, you know, you can have mixed emotions about certain things or certain people and still receive them well, or try to receive them positively. If you're trying to be liked by everyone, you're diluting what actually matters about yourself. I think that if you're a person that is for everyone, then you're probably really exhausted, because you're trying to fit a million different molds and ideas that people have of you that may just not be really who you are. And it's exhausting. So just be who you are without hurting yourself or other people. And yeah, some of the people who changed your life didn't coddle you. They just kept it real. That goes for my parents. That goes for certain professors. That goes for friends that I've had in the past. And, you know, there a lot of people that at the time I couldn't realize they were doing me a favor by giving me maybe some unsolicited advice or just commentary on something or on myself. And I wasn't receptive to it then, but looking back on it now, I can see how important it was and how much it meant to me and how much it shaped me into the person I am today. And that, yeah, mom and dad, you can take this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you were right all the time, but yes, there were times that you definitely were right and knew best, but salute to you. Yeah, I'm not here to be palatable. I'm here to be useful. And that's kind of another mindset I'm trying to adopt as I get older. Unlearning timelines. Oh my gosh, this one's huge. This one's really big. If you're constantly focusing on other people's grass, yours is going to be neglected and it's going to get really dead, and nobody likes a shitty yard or landscape. Yeah, I think that especially in the areas where we live, especially like if you're in the South Bible Belt, people have and push this timeline that's like, I guess, conceptually ideal to them on you or on people. And sometimes, like, it's just not for everyone. People have kids at different times. People get married at different times. People get their degrees at different times. People start working at different times. People wake up out of bed and get their ass up at different times. Like, it's not a uniform thing. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing when it comes to timeline. And I hate the supposed to script. I think it's fake. And I think that it pushes this idea that until you have these things or these achievements that, or these boxes checked even, oh God, I just hit this, like boxes checked, that you're not going to be happy and you're not going to be fulfilled. And I think that's bullshit. I really do. I've had friends that had kids before they got married, and I have friends that got married super early, or not even early. I don't even know why. Cut that. Let's cut that. Hold on. We'll start over. I have friends that had kids at a younger age, and I have friends that have gotten married at a younger age. And I also, like, my parents didn't get married till they were 29. They didn't have me till I was 31. I know people that have switched their majors, and it added maybe like another year onto their degree plan. You're allowed to change your mind. Like, I just don't really get, I understand that that there are certain concepts of like supposed tos that have worked for some people or a lot of people, but it doesn't work for everyone. It just doesn't. And that's okay. I think everybody's on their own timeline. Nobody gives a shit nearly as much as you think they do. I have friends that like have moved home after college and are trying to figure out what they want to do. And like, nobody's paying attention to that shit. I don't look at somebody and think of them any less. Like, honestly, I get jealous because I'm like, I wish I were back at home at times and spending more time with my family. But like, growth and seasons look different for everyone. And I think that it's great when everybody's supportive and encouraging and minding their own damn business a lot of the time, and not pushing on people their idea of like what's an ideal timeline for all of these different major life events. Like, just let shit happen. Just let it be. Things will happen for you when they're meant for you, and also it's okay to chase those things as well, like if it's important to you. But yeah, people peak at different times, win at different times, people lose at different times. Nobody's living like this picture perfect life in which everything's just happy and smiley all the time. And a lot of times the people that seem the happiest are probably not. That's just the way that it goes. It's okay to change directions, and it's okay to start over, and it's not hindering or adding a shit ton of years onto your ideal timeline. It's not. It's okay. Like, what's important is that you're happy and that you're setting yourself up for success in the long term and setting yourself up for happiness in the long term. And I think happy is a destination and joy is what you find along the way. Again, I'm not trying to sound like a Hobby Lobby motivational little poster that you look at while you're taking a dump. But, yeah, comparing timelines is not a fast track to feeling behind when you're not. Nobody's behind. Nobody's ahead. It's all happening on your own time. And there are certain things that I've like just had to stop asking myself, like, am I behind, and start asking who made the map. And whether you're a religious person or not, you have control over making said map or leaning into whatever spiritual guidance you go for. I'd like to lean more into my relationship with God for sure. I think, and this is a tangent, but I think I've been really pushed away from the church in recent years, and not as if the church is pushing me away, but just like we have certain people on pedestals right now that are claiming to be something that they're not, and claiming to represent something that they clearly have no idea about. And I don't want people ever associating me as a hateful person, because I'm not. And I think God is love and God is merciful. And shout out First United Methodist Church. Y'all taught me a lot of that stuff. But yeah, it's something I want to lean more into, and also, depend more on God to create said map. So yeah, some other things I'm unlearning. Let's see. Oh yeah. Like the whole, like the ideas that are pushed out on social media and trends that are pushed out on social media that have to do with like health and wellness that are like hella unrealistic for most everyone. I'm unlearning that that's like ideal. because it's not, and it's also not necessarily realistic for everyone. Like while I would love to get more into meal prepping and going to the gym every single day, it's just not always going to happen. Sometimes I want a damn McDouble or a McChicken, and sue me. I don't know what else to say. But I do think it's important definitely to like nourish your goals and push yourself in that direction. But like baby steps are okay. Baby steps are fine. Another thing I'm unlearning is that you only get one shot. I think this applies in a lot of different areas, whether it be relationship, job, school, everyday life. Sometimes you just have to ask for a second chance, and sometimes they're just naturally presented to you. I think that there's a big pressure to get it right the first time, but it also just leads to avoidance or over editing what you're doing. I feel like a lot of the best things in my life happened after I thought they were supposed to, and I just needed a chance or two again to try. And also you create your own second chances a lot of times. But yeah, I think that a big example of this is my relationship with my dear sweet boyfriend. As a lot of you guys know, it's because a lot of you have grown up with me, or you've at least heard the story. I had liked Carson since the 7th grade. And I did tell him multiple times I had liked him throughout the course of middle school and high school. But he wasn't always very receptive to it, which is okay. We were like best friends, but it was one of those things that we were like, oh, maybe we're better friends, whatever. But if I had looked at, telling him that I had feelings for him that were bigger than just a friendship level as a one-shot type of thing, then I definitely would not be dating him today. Unfortunately, the man took a little bit of work to get to, but that's okay. Normally, I am not one that chases or begs, and I did not chase or beg. I was just always very clear and forward with how I was feeling. And yeah, let's see. I told him I liked him in 8th grade. He did like me back at that point. Sophomore year as well. And he liked me back at that point too. For some reason, like our flings, well, this isn't a fling. If it's a fling, it's a 5-year, one hell of a long fling. But in 8th grade and sophomore year, when we were like talking or whatever, the feeling was like mutual, but we were just like, maybe we're better friends, whatever. But those feelings carried on throughout high school. I'd probably told him like at the end of sophomore year that I had liked him. And then I definitely told him one time junior year. And he was just like, yeah, like, nah, like ball is life. And that's fair. It's okay. But no, senior year rolled around and he actually had approached me that time and was like, okay, maybe we should try this out, and legitimately try it out. And so we started dating, and now in August, we will have been dating for 5 years. Yeah. But no, and I think that the whole one shot thing, it goes both ways. I think if he had looked at it as he had one shot the whole time, maybe he would have taken it earlier and it wouldn't have worked out. And if I had realized that, then I would have stopped. Or if I had thought that, I would have probably stopped telling him I had liked him a lot earlier. And then we wouldn't be dating today. Maybe we would. I don't know. But it wouldn't have happened the way it did. And the way that it did happen was very organic and sweet. And yeah, now we've been up each other's asses for 5 years. So it's good stuff. But yeah, you don't always, like, you have more shots than one. Sometimes you have to create them yourself or just ask for them. But yeah, unlearning that rejection is the same as failure. I have been loving these exposure therapy TikToks where people are like going into public places or like businesses. For instance, this lady that I saw on TikTok the other day, she went up to she had a hotel like on a resort vacation, and she had asked if she could upgrade for free, and they actually upgraded her for free. But she was like, if I hadn't have asked, then I wouldn't have been able to upgrade. But the goal was to like be rejected and be okay with it. And then there was another video where she did ask someone for something else, for someone else for something, and she got rejected, and she was like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's okay. It's cool." And I think that whole like series or fad or trend has just created really good like internal dialogue for me to realize like, okay, sometimes you just have to ask for things. And then also that rejection's okay. Like saying no is not the worst thing in the world. We live on a floating rock. Go look at your Microsoft Windows landscape pictures that pop up on your desktop to realize that like life is bigger than someone saying no to you. And then you should probably book a trip and go to those places. But yeah, the emotional sting of rejection and how we internalize it as personal failure is not healthy. Rejection does not equal personal failure. Sometimes it's just pushing you in a different direction that you may not have initially thought you needed to go, but was actually meant for you. And you end up having all of these opportunities or experiences that you might have not ever expected nor wanted for yourself had you not been rejected. And so things that are meant for you will open their doors to you. And when one door closes, another one opens, or find a freaking window. I love the find a window saying. It's the best. But yeah. Also, I'm unlearning that success should feel secure. I would say that my post-grad journey thus far is deemed as successful by probably the general population. And thank God, but I don't feel secure in it at all. A lot of times I have to sit at my desk and ask myself, like, what the hell am I doing? Do I even know what I'm doing? I get a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, it's criminal. It's a criminal amount. Should probably go to the doctor and ask him to up my dosage of whatever. Yeah. But no, I definitely have a lot of imposter syndrome within every facet of my life. Whether like I know I'm being a good friend, but I feel like, and I'm being successful at being a good friend, but sometimes I don't feel secure in that feeling. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm bound to mess up. And even in my own relationship with Carson or in my own relationships with my family, I mean, I've had to ask my poor boss for affirmation more times than I can count. I'm like, do you hate me? Like, am I doing a decent job? Like, I don't know. And this thing too, like I'm so hypercritical of myself. But I would say that like what I've built thus far has been successful, and yet I still don't feel secure in it because this especially is uncomfortable for me, like I've shared with you. But yeah, the fear of sustaining something once you've made it or gotten noticed, I think it's really prevalent for a lot of people, especially like, you know, everybody thinks that people care more than they actually do, and not in a bad way, but like I honestly think that's comforting whenever somebody's like, oh, I didn't notice something that I was like hyper fixating on and just like really just a black cloud of doom came over me. It's like the biggest relief ever. I'm like, holy shit, you weren't paying attention to that? No, like I thought you did really great. I'm like, are you blowing smoke up my ass? Like what's the sitch here? But yeah, I think success often comes with vulnerability. When there are more eyes and more expectations and more risk, it really pushes you to be put into a vulnerable state and that's a hard word. Words are hard. Vulnerable state. And yeah, I thought success would feel like I did it, but sometimes it just feels like, Ella, don't mess this up. And that's something that I'm still unlearning. And it's okay for me to mess up and still be successful and maintain the art of success. But yeah, that's my little TED talk for the day, are things that I'm unlearning. I'd love for you guys to share things that you are unlearning as well. And also like, what's your take on unlearning? I think it's a really cool discussion to have. And also like it provokes a lot of thought, and it is food for thought on looking back at things and being like, okay, what are some things that I have learned or picked up along the way to get to where I am that maybe aren't so great and maybe I should unlearn. I'm constantly unlearning that I always have to be right. It's tough. I come by it honestly. But yeah, Also, like, let's talk about this too. A lot of shit has happened this week. Ozzy Osbourne has passed away. Trisha Paytas had her baby Aquaman. Hulk Hogan just died. I just learned that. It's like right before walking in here, I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. WrestleMania looks a lot different now. But no, a lot of stuff has happened this week. Coldplay CEO, that was crazy. We're going to a Coldplay concert in September, actually, which I'm so pumped for, in London. I've never been to London, so swiping my London V card in London and is the main reason we're going to London to see Coldplay at Wembley Stadium. Yeah, but we're going to do a lot of other cool stuff while we're there too. So if you also have any London recs, let me know. Like, seriously, let me know. Carson hates the accent for some reason, so I'm really not looking forward to him complaining and me having to listen to it about the London accents. But I also think it's going to be a lot different than what he's expecting. So it'll be super fun. But yeah, as always, unironically, like, share, subscribe, rate on whatever platform you're listening to or watching on, because not only, even if you rate me shitty, that's fine. I really just, it boosts the algorithm and gets the podcast more oomph underneath it and puts it on more people's suggested things that they should listen to. And so, yeah, I want to know what you're unlearning, and comment it wherever you're watching. And yeah, I will see you next Thursday. Holla. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to Y'all Heard.